It happened to me. Has it happened to you? I mean, I entered the teaching profession so excited, so enthusiastic, and so determined to affect lives, just like my senior English teacher had affected mine. In my final paper as a education major at Farmington, I remember I had to write my personal philosophy of education. I talked about how I wanted to convince each and every student that they could be anything they wanted, just like my teacher had convinced me. I wanted to look for that spark and fan it into a flame of passion for learning that would lead kids to fulfill their hopes and dreams. Then, in a blink of an eye, the reality of a real classroom hit, and it hit painfully hard. I mean, I couldn't believe the audacity of students not hanging off every single verb conjugation that I had carefully, thoughtfully, and creatively prepared for them to memorize, learn, and regurgitate. How dare they talk while I was trying to help them? How could they be so disrespectful and unappreciative? They got worse. Midway through my first year at my second school, the principal came into my classroom at the end of the day, and he had me sit down. That's never a good thing. And I'll never forget his words. He said, "You know, I like you, Skip, and I know that you're really working hard, but I'm getting complaints. If you don't get a handle on this classroom management thing, I'm afraid I won't have any choice. I won't be able to renew your contract." I was devastated. I was a third-year teacher. I mean, this was my dream job. This was a job that I had discovered was perfect for me years after graduating. And after years of having my closest confidants affirm that I was born to teach. How could this be? How could this be happening? Well, I decided that it must be the school's fault, so I showed them. I left. And I went to another school, a brand new school, a progressive experiment in education that would try standards-based grading, heterogeneous grouping, a strong advisor-advisee program, performance-based pay, a place that valued and encouraged teacher voice. Surely this place would be perfect. Want to guess? Oh, I mean, it was a great place, and it still is to this day. The problem was that neither I nor the students had changed at all. I still expected students to love what I taught as much as I did, and I expected them to demonstrate how much they appreciated my passion, hard work, and dedication by paying attention, studying, and learning Spanish. I mean, isn't that what was supposed to happen? My response to their lack of appreciation was further frustration and more screaming. In 2003, I went through the national board process, and my worst fears were confirmed. I stunk as a teacher. I failed 8 out of 9 standards. The only standard I passed was professionalism, my commitment to the profession. I hung on another few years, but finally came to a horrible conclusion. I either had to change professions or I had to change me. Steve Jobs passed away when he was 56. So excited, so enthusiastic, and so determined to change lives, just like my senior English teacher had changed mine. I remember my first philosophy of education class. I was required to write my philosophy of education. I wrote about how I wanted to convince students that they could do anything they wanted, just like my English teacher had convinced me. I wanted to look for that spark and fan it into a flame, a passion for learning that would lead kids to fulfill their dreams, their hopes, and their desires. Then, in the blink of an eye, the reality of the real classroom hit me. I mean, the audacity of students not clinging to every verb conjugation that I had so carefully and thoughtfully and creatively prepared for them to memorize, practice, and regurgitate. How dare they talk when I was trying to help them? How could they be so disrespectful and so unappreciative? It got worse. Midway through my first year at my second school, the principal entered my classroom after school one day and had me sit down. Never a good thing. I'll never forget his words. He said, "You know, I like you, Skip, and I know you are really trying hard, but I'm getting complaints. If you don't get this classroom management thing under control, I'm afraid I won't have any choice. I'm not going to be able to renew your contract. I was devastated. I was a third-year teacher. I mean, this was my dream job. This was a job that I had discovered was perfect for me after years and years of searching. How could this be? Surely I had been born to teach. Well, I decided it must be the school's fault, so I showed them. I left. And I went to another school, a brand new school, an experiment in education. A place with standards-based grading, heterogeneous grouping, strong advisor-advisee group, performance-based pay, a place that valued and encouraged teacher voice. Surely this would be a perfect place for me. Want to guess? Oh, I mean, it was a great place, and it still is. The problem was that neither I nor the kids had changed at all. I still expected them to love what I taught as much as I did. I expected them to demonstrate how much they appreciated all my passion, hard work, and dedication by paying attention, studying hard, and learning Spanish. I mean, isn't that what was supposed to happen? My response to their lack of appreciation was further frustration and more screaming. In 2003, I went through the national board process, and my worst fears were confirmed. I stunk as a teacher. I failed 8 of the 9 indicators. The only standard I passed was professionalism, my commitment to my profession. I hung on another few years, but I finally came to a horrible conclusion. Either I had to change professions, or I had to change me. Steve Jobs passed away when he was 56. At age 50, he said, I read a quote that went something like this: if you live each day as if it's your last, someday you'll most certainly be right. It made an impression on me. And since then, for the past 33 years, I've looked in the mirror every single morning and asked myself, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I am doing today? And when the answer has been no for too many days in a row, I know I need to change something. I either had to figure out how to be more effective as a teacher so that my students could be more successful as well, or I had to walk away. To explain what happened next, I'd like to tell you Gabe's story. My son Gabe was born with 4 loves: dancing, books, music, and baseball. The problem is that he wasn't really born an athlete. He had everything else. He had the passion, the attitude, the character, the spirit. It was the hitting and catching piece that gave him a hard time. He played 6 years of farm team, and then when he was 11 and a half, he was finally ready to move up to the majors with the rest of his friends his age. It was a dismal day in March when the rec director and coach told him that Gabe just wasn't good enough to move up. You see, last year tons of parents were frustrated and complained that the major team had lost too many games. So they were only moving up the best of the best, the cream of the crop. Gabe was crushed. I mean, he was so sure he was good. He was angry. It was from that moment on that Gabe made the decision that he would show him. He would do whatever it took to be successful. And he did. With the help of his mom, he attended every single clinic he could find. He worked with the coaches at Bates College, spent hours throwing, catching, running in the gym. This past school year, Gabe was a freshman. He swung varsity. He had an average of 369, an OBP of 444, and 30 runs batted in. He played Legion ball and made an AAU travel team. He talks today, 4 years later, about how being told he wasn't good enough was the best thing that ever could have happened to him as a baseball player, and probably as a person. It took Gabe's dad much longer in life to learn that powerful lesson of letting and allowing setbacks and failures to motivate you to become what you wanted to be. In 2005, however, I had something to prove, just like Gabe did. The mentors that had helped me decide that I was born to be a teacher couldn't be wrong. That principal's words motivated me to prove him wrong. I wanted to do this. I wanted to do whatever it took to be effective with kids. I had heard about Blaine Ray and his revolutionary new teaching for way of teaching a second language. I had tried for a few years to understand this teaching with comprehensible input by reading about it and visiting classes, but I just couldn't get it. So on a Thursday morning in Kingfield, Maine, I attended a workshop by Blaine. And Blaine began by telling us that languages aren't acquired. Are acquired, they aren't learned. Second language acquisition, he said, happens by repetitive, comprehensible input. You see, students hear language over and over and over and over and over that they understand in ways that are highly personalized and highly compelling. And over time, they acquire it, just like they did for their first language. You know, for the first time, I understood language acquisition and how kids acquire a language. For years, I had insisted that my kids memorize endings and grammar rules, while all the time, all they really needed was to hear comprehensible, compelling messages over and over and over. I couldn't believe it. I mean, knowing how students learn a language is pretty important when you're a language teacher. After Blaine had spent a couple of hours demonstrating the method in German, he gave us a reading about the story he had just told us, and it was written in German. I took it, and I could read every single word perfectly. In that instant, I was born again. I had a vision for how students could acquire a language and how I could help them. So my world had gone from this extreme
Agricola, agricolae, agricolarum, agricolis, agricolas, agricolis. Again, please, agricola.
Que busca? What am I asking? What does she look for? Toma linda. Busca. Y busca un baño. Busca. Y busca. Y busca. Y busca y busca y busca. Y busca y busca y busca y busca un baño. The most important part of my born again story is that I quickly realized and discovered that there were dozens and dozens of people ready to help me. From all over the country, people like Ben Slavic, Susie Gross, Carol Gobb, Lori Clark, Sabrina Janik, Bryce Hedstrom. All kinds. I read every single word I could get my hand on. I attended every conference that I could find, including national conferences in Missouri, Las Vegas, Dallas, and Denver. This past year we were in DC. And I slowly but surely gained skills in delivering comprehensible input to my classes and took on the challenge given by our national organization to make 90% of all instruction consist of CI. The same people who helped me learn how to teach with CI also helped me understand effective classroom management. They taught me how to personalize my class and make the kids the center of my curriculum. They taught me about the Love Bank and how crucial it is from the very beginning to make 12 positive deposits in every student before making one negative withdrawal. They helped me communicate to my students in powerful ways that I deeply cared about them, and that once my students were convinced of that, then they could learn. And they did. In the years that followed, students earning no credits in world language at our school went from 30 to 40 to fewer than 5 or 6. Our upper level classes had 30 to 40 in them, whereas a few years ago they had 3 or 4. We have no feeder program. Students start in the 9th grade. 2 years ago, Gabe wanted to give back. he asked the Poland rec director if he could work with the T-ball kids, and he's now been working with the same kiddos for 3 years. I have to say that though it has been wonderful to see my students be and feel more successful in their journey to become proficient in a foreign language, it has been the giving back that has been most gratifying and motivated me to help others in their journey to become more effective. You see, very soon after discovering TCI, I became driven to help other teachers learn this method and the hope that it offers. In 2005, I invited Blaine Ray back to Maine, and since then I have invited experts and teachers from all over the country to help teachers in Maine, New England, and beyond improve their skills in their teaching. The conference has grown from 30 teachers when we first started to over 140 last year. In addition, I started a peer coaching group in which teachers from Maine meet 3 to 4 times a year and practice in front of nurturing, caring professionals, and practice and get feedback on their craft. In addition, I've been able to have 10 to 12 teachers a year come in and watch my classes and see what I do and how students learn with CI. The next step of my growth journey is National Board Certification. I'm currently doing components 2 and 3. I would close by asking why it is that we as teachers are so often hesitant to ask for help. Why did it take me so long to ask for and get the help that I needed? Why are we so reluctant to be transparent and vulnerable? Why have I been so reluctant to share this story? Why is it that we as teachers are often so guarded in letting other people see our classrooms? And why do we so often feel the need to make excuses for why they can't be seen? Today is not a good day. If we are not merely to survive, but grow and excel as educators and as a profession, we must be the very best we can be for our kids. We are going to need the non-judgmental, positive input, nurture, support, and encouragement from each other. We must embrace a growth mindset and change the nature of the very question we ask. Instead of asking what we're doing wrong and why is this happening to me, we must instead ask what we are learning in our current situation, what risks must we take, and how will this help us get better. We must view our teaching journey as evolution and not revolution. We must welcome roadblocks and setbacks and as motivation to grow, improve, and even inspire. As Brené Brown says in her work on vulnerability, we must lean into our vulnerability and embrace the strength, change, joy, and celebration that can come with that. I would challenge teachers here today, especially veteran teachers, to grab a hand. Reach out and grab a hand, especially the hand of a young teacher, and encourage him or her on their journey towards becoming the very best, most effective teacher they can be in their classroom for their students. We must recognize other teachers all the time. We must applaud their good work. We must do anything that will kindle passion, ignite fire, produce confidence, and teacher passion. It happened to me. I hope that it's happened to you. May it happen to all of us. Our profession needs it. And our students, they so deserve it. Thank you very much.